Hey guys, we are back from America. We had an amazing time at the Arnold Classic. We got home yesterday. Liz fell asleep straight away. So we're a day late bringing you our review of the Arnolds. But here we are. Bit more energetic today.
Little.
You were tired, weren't you?
I was very tired. I still am. So we're going to look at both the pro men's competition and the pro women. Now, there's been a lot of discussion and comments online comparing the pro men and the pro women's competitions, but I think I think it's a really important distinction to make, how maybe things aren't as great for the women as they are for the men. But I think it's also really important to point out that these are run by two separate companies. So the men's competition is run by the Arnolds, which is predominantly Jan Todd and Steve Slater in association with Rogue. And the pro women's competition, as well as all of the amateur competitions, is run by Strongman Corporation. So it's not really a case of comparing men to women, it's a case of comparing the Arnolds to Strongman Corp when you're looking at it like that, because the way the pro women and, you know, their warm-up area, it was exactly the same as the amateur men and all the weight classes as well. You have to forgive me as well, I've lost my voice. I've spent the whole weekend screaming at Andrea, so I'm a little bit rusty.
Yeah, I think the main distinction is understanding the difference. A lot of people are I've seen a lot of comments online almost having a go at the Arnolds and having a go at Rogue, which is ridiculous, because Rogue are the people that have put the record breakers on, and the prize money for the record breakers is equal for men and women.
And Rogue also set up that area that they allowed everyone to use as well. So, you know, Rogue deserve quite a lot of credit for all the good things about
they certainly don't deserve to be getting any negative comments, because they do an incredible job. But if you see, like myself, doing the commentating for the pro men, and then there was commentating for the record breakers, that's because that is partly run by Rogue, or sponsored by Rogue anyway, whereas the other shows just are individually put on by Strongman Corp.
Yeah, so I guess in an ideal world, we'd see Rogue start to work with Strongman Corp.
And I think that is the goal going forward. Okay. They do want to sort of, I think, pass it on to the Arnolds and Rogue to see the women's side of things improve. But we are going to bring you some of the women's action. So we're going to start with day one. We're going to look at the men and the women. Starting off with the men, they had the squat for Max. How did you guys feel about the squat for Max? I know online, and I felt it a little bit when I was doing the commentating, that it was a slow-paced event. And it actually got really exciting towards the end. But the first half was a little kind of, I guess, teething, and we were sort of kind of figuring out how long people would take between attempts. And
we have to remember as well as filming the live stream, they're making a complete show out of it. So, which is why they wanted the rapping and everything, which did become a little bit tedious to watch, to be honest. I think I can't wait to see the Rogue production of this, because I think it's going to be insane and really, really good. I think sitting there, because the need for lots of spotters, I was a little bit like, I can see.
I think that's one of the issues with a squat compared to a deadlift.
Yes.
Deadlift is just the athlete and the bar. The squat, you have the frame, you have a lot of spotters around you. So visually, it's a little bit harder to look at. But it was still an awesome competition.
I'm still so glad to see the squat in there. And what about the results? Now, let's talk about Luke. Sorry, Luke.
Well, I think we need to address it. Luke and Tom, I think, firstly, Tom got the most out of the squat that he could. He took smart jumps, and I think he placed very well, actually, on the squat. A lot of people have sort of criticised Tom in terms of his squatting. I think he did excellent. I think he ended up 6th overall on the squat. Yes, so Tom ended up joint 6th on the squat, which is a really good result for him on that event. Now, the weird thing was Luke did the 2 same attempts on attempt 1 and 2, and then took a massive jump for his 3rd attempt. I kind of questioned it, and I think in hindsight he probably would pick his numbers differently again. The fact is, it wouldn't have changed the overall results. Looking at the end score, it really wouldn't have changed anything.
No, not in the...
So it wasn't such a mistake at the end.
But it felt like a mistake at the time.
At the time, it felt like a mistake.
I truly believe Luke was good for that third squat had it not been such a long wait and such a big jump from his second squat.
I think Luke could have made a small jump and still placed a few places higher.
Yeah.
Whereas the big jump that he made wouldn't have actually beaten the top few guys anyway.
No.
So it was a calculated risk. It didn't pay off, and in the end, it didn't matter. It just seemed very strange at the time that he took such a big jump, comparing it to his first two.
Now, we all expected JF to be good on this event. Did you expect him to be that good?
Actually, yes.
Yeah.
I expected him to be able to go much, much heavier if needed. I think JF could squat that kind of number raw.
Wow.
And I've competed against JF many times. I know how good a squatter he is. And you could tell coming in he was training hard on the squat. The squat didn't surprise me too much in terms of results. I was very, very impressed with Rob Kearney.
I was
I
too.
think that kind of, you could see in his training it been going well, but training doesn't always mean they'll perform in competition. We've seen that on some of the other events where people have looked really good in the training videos and then not performed so well here. But Rob backed up exactly what he was doing, and I always expected Licis to be very consistent on a squat. I've seen time and time again him perform exceptionally well on a squat, and you just expect that consistent, solid performance from him. So those three really stood out for me as the top three guys on the squat on day one.
So the second event for the men on day one was the dumbbell press. A ridiculously heavy dumbbell press, 124 kilos.
Yeah.
There was a few 0 reps and a couple that really surprised me. Trey Mitchell did exceptionally well. I know it was a lighter dumbbell, but he did so well at the Shahlaei Classic last year. I really thought he'd be good for a couple of reps here.
Yeah, it was surprising to see Trey 0 on the dumbbell and Bobby Thompson as well.
Yes.
Knowing how good a log lifter Bobby is. But I say time and time again, the log is very different to the dumbbell. The dumbbell is one of those events that requires great explosive power, timing and technique, whereas the log requires a lot more tricep, shoulder strength and that kind of power belly almost, especially at the heavyweight level. There's some great lighter log lifters that have exceptional technique, but when you look at the massive log lifters, the likes of Eddie Hall, the likes of Ian Bibby, Zydrunas,
They're quite thick guys, aren't they? Bobby.
Luke, Bobby, they're all thick set, big powerful shoulders, big powerful triceps. So you kind of expect those guys to do well, but then they never seem to do as well on the dumbbell. Even Zydrunas wasn't so good on dumbbell compared to his log lifting and his axle ability.
Now, I feel that this event also really messed up Tom Stoltman. Obviously, he got it up a few times, never got the rep, but never quite had it under control. Bit of an issue with maybe it not being directly above him and being at the side. What did you think watching it?
Watching him, he was locking out, but the arm was going to the side.
Yeah.
And obviously 125 kilos.
You're not going to be able to control
You can't keep it balanced. You really need it to go straight up, either close to your head, so the shoulder and ear are close to each other, or you do what Novikov does, where he sort of bends
almost
to the side and has it straight over him and then kind of adjusts his body. And talking of Novikov, he was unbelievable on this event.
He really was. He blew it out of the water, 7 reps, and even stopped for a little drink.
7 reps on a 125 kilo dumbbell is absolutely mental. Second place was Rob Kearney, who was exceptionally impressive, hitting 4, and then we had a couple of guys on 3. My worry for Novikov was that he'd struggle mentally coming into this competition.
And I said he'll either struggle or he'll be like a man possessed. And I was so glad to see the man possessed.
Yeah, it was good talking to him and seeing him behind the scenes.
Giving him a hug.
Obviously, he's got so much going on in that head of his, but he still came and he performed. And you could tell he was hungry.
Oh, yeah.
He really wanted to perform. Put in a decent squat, to be fair to him, and his dumbbell was just... It just blew everyone out of the water. I would love to have seen a healthy Liaschuk maybe push him.
Wouldn't we all?
And I think Liaschuk, in top shape, could have pushed for the overall as well.
I agree.
But you can't go on ifs and buts. You can only go on the athletes that are there. And Novikov was by far number 1 when it came to the dumbbell. So we finished day 1, and the surprise leader of the event was Rob Kearney. He'd had a blistering first day, 2 second places. No one was talking about Rob. But
when I saw a lot of people talking about Rob, it was to question why he was being invited. So I'm sure he felt quite...
I'm sure he felt pretty good about himself.
Yes.
And, let's remember, Rob has had a tough time of it. He's come back from a tricep tear. He had testicular cancer.
Yes.
He's battled back from those. To see him on top of the leaderboard on day one was amazing, and Rob is genuinely one of the nicest guys there is in Strongman. So I'm so happy to see him do well. But the big names such as Licis and Novikov were just not that far behind. They've got that consistency, and you kind of felt with Licis his best events was yet to come.
So in between all of the men's events, and sometimes at the same time as well, we had the pro women competing, and their first event was a wheelbarrow carry. Now this was a medley of 3 wheelbarrows, with the heaviest being 272 kilos. I was with the women while they were warming up on an identical piece of kit, and the handles were shiny. There were no straps in this event. It was slippery, so grip was a huge factor, as well as obviously strength and speed. Now, our girl Andrea, she came in 3rd place. She was the best of the girls that didn't finish it, but Hannah Lindsay and Victoria Long were the only 2 to finish this run, and they were fast as well.
Really fast. This is the first time I've seen both of these ladies compete, and I've got to say they really impressed me all weekend. The standard of the women in this sport right now is just being raised year on year.
Yeah.
And I was actually, I got to say, I was more excited watching the women than I was the men.
I don't like to say it, but I was too. Like Hannah Lindsay, she won the Amateur Arnold's last time it was on, so in 2020. So this is her first pro show, and I won't spoil it, but she was exceptionally good. Yeah. Victoria Long, she's only done a handful of competitions. She's still relatively new to the sport, and she is scary strong.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at the names in this lineup. There's been a number of world's strongest women. The athletes are just truly amazing, and just seeing that level rise every year. I mean, we're going to talk about the next 2 events because our girl Andrea did exceptionally well, and I have to say I'm so proud of her because she's had a lot of stuff going on, and I'm sure everyone does, but obviously when you know someone personal, you know the stuff that they go through. And she's had a rough time, and mentally it's been tough, and we've really worked hard. She's turned up to this show the best I've seen her in probably ever. Yeah,
and even then that was still with a ton of doubts and insecurities and anxieties, but she went into the Viking Press, which was the next event, and she had to go 3rd from last because Victoria and Hannah after her, so she really had to go all out, knowing these amazing women were, behind her and were going to try and beat her score. She did 20 reps on the Viking Press.
20 reps.
16 she did without a break, and then she did 4 more. The next best, I believe, was 14 reps, but obviously she didn't know that would be the next best at the time.
Victoria Long hit 14 reps. This is 100 kilos in the hand Viking Press as well. And Andrea did 20 reps.
And it didn't end there. The next event, for me, was by far the most exciting event out of the whole weekend. It was the women's Max Deadlift. It was a rising bar, and the women, because obviously you can't do this sort of thing on a squat because of the height adjustments and everything else, but the bar was just there. It was a Harjapää deadlift. My only criticisms, it started way too light for these women.
Yeah, I think some of the women took too many jumps.
The jumps weren't big either, 30 pounds a time, so it went on a little bit, but by the end of it, it was so exciting. Like it overran because the weightlifting on that stage that was just before the women's deadlift overran by 45 minutes. So the place had pretty much cleared, except for the audience watching this deadlift. And the atmosphere in there was crazy. I was shaking and crying by the end of it. The adrenaline, it was insane.
You've already put a video of this up.
I have.
But, I mean, this nearly cost me my job commentating for Rogue because, I was getting so excited watching it. I mean, I knew deep down that I thought Andrea was capable of 700 pounds, something around that mark. She went and pulled 800 pounds for the win. 800 pounds would have beaten guys like Magnus Samuelsson, guys like Phil Pfister, that lifted the same bar. Back in 2003, 2004 time. So Andrea's lift beat 2 of the former world's strongest men. That's how incredible this lift was. I mean, not just Andrea, all the women were incredible.
The effort that they put in, like Donna Moore on her last lift, she failed it first try, and how she got it, I will never know. I can't imagine digging that deep.
You would never dig that deep, baby.
I wouldn't. But so many of the women, Olga was the same.
Yeah.
Victoria Long on her last lift, which I think was 765 pounds. It was so impressive throughout.
It really was.
I was blown away.
For me, it was the most exciting moment of the weekend. So day 2 on the men's side, we kicked off with the Austrian Oak, the Max log lift, an exciting event with a number of very, very good log pressers competing. Now, if you guys are watching this, it wasn't the greatest thing to watch at one point with our very good friend JF Caron having an awful injury. To watch it, I mean, I almost swore.
It's quite sickening, wasn't it?
Doing the commentating, and it was really hard because that was my friend that was competing there, not just an athlete, and there's always emotion there. So when you see something like that, having suffered a number of injuries myself, knowing where JF is in terms of his career, and I could see straight away that wasn't a minor injury.
No.
You know, you just know from experience. We have spoken to him.
Yes. We were trying to visit him in the hospital, but it was 2 people, like, only in the entirety of someone's stay. I think Jan had to pretend to be his mum.
Yeah, Jan got into pretending to be his mum. Yeah. But we've spoken to him. He's had surgery already, so there was kind of thought that he'd torn both quads, damaged his knee, and broken his ankle. Turns out the ankle and knee are okay, but fully ruptured both quadriceps, which means he's going to be in a splint for a long time on both legs. It's a very slow, long recovery. We absolutely wish him the best. His friend Simon has set up a GoFundMe to help him because he's literally going to be out of action for a long time.
Yeah.
He's not going to be able to work. We've attached a link below if anyone wants to go down and donate to JF. Literally one of the most popular strongmen among fans and athletes as well. He's just an incredible guy, and someone that I can promise you, he's old school, a bit like myself. He'd never ask for anything.
No. And just to point out as well that Arnold obviously have covered the full cost of his surgery and flying him home privately as well. So this isn't to cover medical expenses. This is purely to alleviate the pain of being led up for God knows how many months.
And he's self-employed as well, so he's going to struggle to be working. And, you know, I think he is a very popular athlete, and it's going to be very hard for him to make a comeback. It really is. I think realistically, that might be the last competition we ever see him in, and I really hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, hopefully not.
It's going to take a long time to recover.
Yeah.
And then he's got to get that strength back on the events that he was good at, which this is going to massively impact.
Yeah.
But we send him our absolute best, and it was just a horrible moment. We had to have almost an hour delay then, and then the competition got underway again. And it was tough, but the athletes, I know JF wanted it, I know the athletes wanted that. You've got to continue with the show.
Yeah.
And we saw some incredible log lifting by the end, with Luke Stoltman coming out on top with 213 kilos, 470 pounds. Bobby Thompson was in second place. Bobby went for the win to try and break his American record. He tried to do 480 pounds, and he got within a whisker of it. But I have to say, Luke's lift looked very, very impressive, and I felt he had a fair bit more in him if he wanted it.
Unfortunately, I missed it because I got there late because of the women's stuff with Andrea, and then by the time I got there, it was literally as JF was being injured. So, and after that, I just found it a bit too upsetting to stay. So, Andrea and I tried to go and distract ourselves with something else, food.
I think the big key point with this one was the consistency of Licis. Not known as the best presser in the world, and going up against some monsters, he made sure he got ahead of his real opposition, which was Novikov and Rob Kearney. And again, placing the lowest he placed all weekend was fourth on an event. He really is a great all-round strongman, and that's why he's winning so many major shows. So the next event was the timber carry, 400 kilos, 880 pounds, up the ramp. Only 2 athletes finished.
No straps, we should point
No straps this time. It's all on grip strength. I can tell you from experience, the gradient isn't so much of an issue as long as you don't drop it.
Right.
The problem comes when you drop it on there, then trying to lift it again, because suddenly you're in a weird position to try and lift that type of weight. Only 2 athletes finished. Martin's Licis coming in second place, another consistent performance. So Maxime Boudreault, an absolute blistering time of 8.41. Very, very impressive.
That Canadian grip strength.
If I see someone say that again. He had great grip strength, but great speed as well.
Yeah. No, Maxime was extremely impressive.
Yeah, this one was the big weakness for Rob Kearney. This is where Rob lost a lot of points and dropped down a few points. He knew that was going to happen. Yeah. A few of the guys actually really struggled
Trey
with this.
Mitchell, we knew it would happen.
Trey Mitchell struggled. A couple of the other guys as well.
Novikov did surprisingly well, in my opinion. He took third place, although he wasn't able to finish it. That was...
He got the furthest distance.
I don't think he could have asked for much more on that event because...
No, Novikov's an incredibly good frame carrier.
Yeah.
Particularly with straps where they take grip out. His speed is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Just sometimes the grip gives out a little. But this was a much better performance for him than the last time he did this event.
Yes. And what was going on? He decided to try it backwards after dropping it.
There's no quitting that man.
No, he will try anything.
He's a determined athlete, and that's why, again, he's so good. And talking of determination, when we move on to the next event, the stone to shoulder.
Oh, my goodness.
I think Novikov brought the house down getting this the stone to his shoulder. Now, I'm going to quickly go through the rules of it because it was very strange to watch. The athlete's got 1 point for lifting it to their lap.
Which they had to do within the first 30 seconds.
Yeah, if they couldn't lift it in 30 seconds, then their goal was eliminated. Yeah. Then you get 10 points for getting the stone up to your chest.
Yeah.
And finally, you get 100 points for getting it up to your shoulder.
But those points are only points within that one event. Yeah. You don't get 100 points added to your overall competition. It's an important distinction to make.
It is.
Otherwise, you have to lift it or you're out completely.
Yeah.
So then they add up your score within that and then score you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, only 3 athletes managed to get this stone up to their shoulder. First was Bobby Thompson, which was very impressive because Bobby almost ran out of time getting it to his lap.
Yeah, I was about to say Bobby's a horrible stone lifter. How unfair would that be? Stones are a weakness, atlas stones, which goes to show because Maxime and Tom didn't even get it to the lap on this event. It goes to show there's not much carryover.
No, atlas stones and these type of stones very, very different. Bobby Thompson got it to his lap, and once he got it to his lap, he was actually really good.
Yeah.
He just seemed to get it in position, drove the stone up and got it up to his shoulder, made sure he had it balanced before he took the hand away, and 100 points for Bobby to take third place on this event. Novikov battled with this stone for ages.
I couldn't believe he did it in the time that he did it.
This event had a 2.5 minute time limit, and I was watching thinking,
this is
just, he needs to focus on getting it to his chest, getting a few points. But no, he keeps fighting and fighting and fighting. He gets it to his shoulder. The crowd goes absolutely nuts, and he gets 110 points to take second place.
According to my editing software, that was the loudest cheer on that event.
That was truly, truly impressive. But then the man of the moment, Martins Licis, he knew what he needed to do. He came out, got the stone up to his shoulder. He knew that got him the overall win.
Enough, yeah.
Took his time and got a second rep on the stone to take the win on that event. Only winning one event the whole weekend, but his consistency in now 2 major shows, the Rogue and the Arnolds. He's only won 2 events out of the 10, but he just doesn't drop points. No. He's proven he's very, very good all round. It's not to say he's going to go on and win every competition that he does this year, because we all know how important events are. And I think going into this, I knew these weren't the best events for Tom.
Yeah.
I think, I've said on a different video, I don't think anyone in the world could have beaten Tom at Britain's Strongest Man last week. It's going to be interesting to see what the events will be at things like World's Strongest Man and other big shows this year. But this was all about Martins Licis. Really proved right now, I think you've got to say he's number 1 in the world. Or certainly the favourite going into World's Strongest Man.
I'm having flashbacks to that video we made, Top 10 of 2021.
And everyone gave me lots of crap.
Well, deservedly. I was the biggest one giving you crap.
But yeah, he only did 1 competition, so I understand it. But you can see where my thought process was.
Yeah, you were anticipating great things, and so far we're getting it.
Look, I want to see a competitive year of Strongman, but this show was about Martins Licis. He's now won World's Strongest Man. He's won the Arnolds. He's won the Rogue Invitational. is becoming a real great strongman.
Now, before we move on to the women's day 2, let's quickly recap our predictions. Now, we could not do a top 5 because it was too difficult, and I think the competition played out how I thought it would. It was impossible to guess. The
funny thing was, before Britain's, I had Luke placing above Tom, and then after Britain's, when Luke got his cramp and Tom did so well, I was like, I flipped it, and I was like, I think Tom's going to do better than I think.
So you had in first place Martins.
I did.
You were correct.
Yep.
In second place you had Tom Stoltman.
Yes.
Incorrect. In third place you had Trey Mitchell. Incorrect.
Tom and Trey, you let me down, boys.
Oh, I'm sure they're so worried about that. I had Martins in first. Correct. I had Trey in second, incorrect. I had Oleksii in third, kind of correct, because he was on the podium. So I'm taking that as a win, yes.
Well, she's happy. We'll move on to the women before Liz gloats anymore. So event number 1 on day 2 for the women was the sandbag over the bar, 4 meters in height, and they went heavier each round.
Yeah, so it was for max weight. I think the lightest one they started on was 35 pounds. And 4 meters, some of these women aren't that tall. It looked really high from where I was standing.
We saw some impressive performances. Victoria Long showing her consistency again. Very much like Martins, just no weakness all weekend. Taking the win on this event, that was a big win for her because Andrea had her worst event on this one.
Yes.
She is a short ass, to be fair.
She is. Well, Victoria and Andrea were tied for points on first place going into this event. Andrea always knew this wasn't going to be a good one for her, and she was right. I think she came second from last in this event.
Yeah, this was the worst event for Andrea. Dropped a lot of points. Olga was exceptionally impressive on this one. Good to see her as well.
Absolutely adore
She's just
Olga.
a sweetheart.
She is.
You know, obviously, same situation as Novikov. The head is obviously got a lot of things going on right now, but she came and she performed.
On day 2, the women's events, they were like bang, 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 because they had to clear the stage before the pro men started. So it was quite
very fast paced. They went on to the 5th event, which was the yoke, very similar to the wheelbarrow, where they had to do 3 different yokes, 12 meters each.
It was 12 meters each. 600 pounds, 700 pounds, 800 pound yoke.
This is the first time there's ever been an 800 pound yoke in a women's competition. Andrea became the first woman to complete this course.
Yes.
I did tell her off because she walked slowly between the second and third one, which actually cost her first place.
It did cost her first place because there was a split second in it in the end between her and Victoria. 6 women finished the course in total, but unsurprisingly, a lot of them seriously struggled with the 800 pounds.
That's heavier again than they used to use in strongman competitions.
Yeah.
I remember watching strongman competitions with 700 pounds being the men's yoke. So again, the progress that these women are making is truly, truly incredible. It doesn't matter what we put in front of them, they just keep coming and performing.
And I think that's why it was so entertaining with the women, because they just work. You know, they are workhorses. They don't complain about anything. They just get on with it all the time, and they do it with a smile a lot of the time. It's sick.
The final event for the women was the stone over bar, and this was again a rising weight event. So
3 max events they had in that competition.
Yeah, they can't say these aren't the strongest women around. So Hannah Lindsay taking the win with this one, lifting 160 kilo stone, which really is amazing after everything else that they've done.
Yeah.
Great improvement from Andrea on the stones.
Yes.
This was a weakness for her. She managed to come joint second on this event with a few other girls. So Andrea, Victoria Long, Olga, and I believe Melissa and Donna actually all managed the 147 kilo stone. Donna's a great stone lifter. Just fatigue kicking in, I think, by the time she got to this event. She's also dropped a lot of weight.
I was just about to say, Donna's so much lighter now as well.
She's dropped a huge amount of weight.
Yeah.
Obviously, her top end strength is going to be down.
Yeah.
But she's looking fantastic, and you know, I think you get to a point in your career where you do start looking at different goals. But incredible performance all round. Victoria Long, very consistent, very worthy winner. So proud of Andrea taking second place. Literally one event cost her. She was very dominant in almost every event. Just one event drop too many points, so we're going to obviously go and work at that.
Yes.
Hannah Lindsay really impressed me coming in third. She was very, very solid again throughout the whole show. No weakness.
And it should be pointed out as well, Hannah and Olga tied for points, but Hannah took third place on count back in the end.
Yeah. As you said there, Olga was fourth and Melissa Peacock came in fifth.
Which is very impressive considering Melissa Peacock is an 82 kilo athlete.
Yeah, Melissa's awesome. We've seen her a few times.
She's on the deadlift. We should have mentioned her on the deadlift.
Thoroughly enjoyed watching the women just as much, if not more sometimes, than the men.
No offence, men.
We enjoyed the men too.
Of course we did. I want to talk about actually just our overarching thoughts of the Arnolds, because it's my first time there. Your first time there in 10 years. There's something about the Arnolds that feels really special.
Yeah.
That, like, we describe it as being prestigious, and it feels like that when you're there, doesn't it? The organisation, the quality of the stream.
They are very professional. We do a tremendous amount of rehearsal. They are very, very, on the ball. They want to grow the sport. They as much as they want to grow CrossFit, they seem to be investing now into strongman. And for someone that's done strongman for so long, it's just so good to see.
Definitely. And how nice was it to meet the American fans? Because, I haven't been... Well, I went to OSG, but OSG is,
predominantly athletes there.
It is, and their families. But here, there was just an absolute ton of strongman fans. And it was weird because...
Auntie Liz had to have photos.
I know. I'm so bad. If you've got a bad photo of me, God, Christ, delete it. You end up with like a coat hanger smile. As natural as I try to be, I'm like,
They're long days and you do get tired. But it's always great meeting, people that love the sport.
Yeah. Oh, and can we give a little shout out to Magnus Fur, who I feel, because whenever I see, Magnus on a mic, are you sure? But how much has he improved since the Short Classic in 2020?
Yeah, Magnus was so much more relaxed, so much better, and he had to talk for a long time.
He really did.
It's a hard skill to do, and he's doing so much better at that.
And he's managed to find himself a little get out of jail free card, because if he messes up, he just goes, I am a foreigner.
And he did come and embarrass you as well, which was funny.
Yeah, that bit wasn't good.
Right, guys, I hope you've enjoyed our recap of the Arnolds. We thoroughly had an amazing time. Looking forward to the next comps. We've got so much planned this year, but the Arnolds was amazing. Congratulations to the two pro winners, Martins Licis and Victoria Long. We'll catch you guys next time.